There is a huge scandal in the Russian Z community due to a video from the Russian Ministry of Defense, which is being distributed on the country's federal channels. The Kremlin, having acknowledged the participation of North Korean troops in the aggression against Ukraine 6 months later, began churning out propaganda videos about heroic Koreans. The videos were shot so unprofessionally that social networks are making fun of them, and Z-war correspondents cannot contain their irritation. The video, which the Russian Defense Ministry is presenting as real combat operations involving North Koreans, allegedly shows the storming on a building. Russian television crews made a grandiose failure when filming this staged video. What was especially funny was that the cameraman was filming from inside the building, standing in front of the DPRK stormtroopers. While Ukrainians are laughing at the Kadyrovites style footage on social networks, Z-bloggers are furious. I sincerely hope that the people who had to film the imitation of military actions and pass these shots off as war will remember that if you are filming a stormtrooper allegedly clearing a house, you should not stand in front of him and film him from the front in a room where, logically, the enemy is. This raises some doubts about the ongoing process, wrote Z-propagandist Callsign Bruce. Z-blogger Filatov couldn't hold back either. Staged videos of Koreans in combat, as well as how our instructors prepare them, are a disgrace, he complained. The Russian authorities acknowledged the participation of North Korean troops in the war against Ukraine on April the 26th, when they announced the complete clearing of the Kursk region from the Ukrainian troops. The Ukrainian Defense Forces still retain control over the border area of Kursk region, holding several settlements under their control. However, the Kremlin urgently needed at least some success on the front before May the 9th, even if it was fake.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has hinted at the possibility of the victory parade in Moscow not taking place. Ukrainian leader wrote about this on his social media account. He noted, "We are picking Russia's pain points so that we can push Moscow into diplomacy. Now they are worried that the parade is being called into question, and they are right in their concerns. But they should be worried because the war is going on. They should end the war. This means that there is a possibility of an attack on Moscow on that day." It should be noted that although the Russian president had previously proposed a ceasefire for May 8 to 10, Zelensky did not agree to it. Zelensky slammed Russian President Vladimir Putin's Victory Day truce as another attempt at manipulation amid efforts to continue US-led peace talks. Now, yet again, another attempt at manipulation. For some reason, everyone is supposed to wait until May 8 before ceasing fire, just to provide Putin with silence for his parade, Zelensky said. Russia has consistently rejected all proposals and continues to manipulate the world, trying to deceive the United States, Zelensky said. "We value human lives, not parades. That's why we believe, and the world believes, that there is no reason to wait until May 8, Zelensky said.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці і українки. Коротко про сьогодні. Взяв участь в роботі саміту ініціативи трьох морів. Один з форматів, які об'єднують наш регіон. Від Чорного моря до Балтійського та Адріатики. Правильний формат – те, що наближає нас до Європейського Союзу. Наша пропозиція – зробити формат більш практичним. Політика в ньому вже відображена достатньо. Тепер варто додати конкретики, не тільки в тому, що стосується логістики і стосується транспортних шляхів. Зараз, після блекауту в Іспанії та Португалії, після всіх російських ударів по нашій енергетиці, після об'єктивно непростих змін на газовому ринку Європи для всіх в Європі, очевидно, що потрібно більше спільних проєктів, більше допомоги один одному саме в енергетиці і в інших питаннях критичної інфраструктури. Зв'язок, трубопроводи, безпека портів. Український внесок в це може бути значним, і ми пропонуємо партнерам робити разом більше саме на цих напрямках. Сьогодні ж обговорювали підготовку нового рішення Ради національної безпеки і оборони. Важливо і надалі тиснути на російські мережі впливу, а також на всі їхні виробництва та торгівельні операції. Українські санкції стараємось по максимуму синхронізувати з усіма в Європі, щоб це було спільною позицією. І вже маємо хороші результати, у тому числі у закритих російських виробництвах, які працювали на їхню оборону. Готуємось також і до розмови з Америкою щодо нових санкційних кроків. Обираємо саме такі больові точки Росії, які найбільше спонукатимуть Москву до дипломатії. Вони повинні робити чіткі кроки до завершення війни. І ми наполягаємо, що безумовне і повне припинення вогню має стати першим кроком. Росія повинна це зробити. Зараз вони переживають, що у них парад під питанням. І правильно переживають. Але повинні переживати, що ця війна досі триває. Вони повинні закінчити війну. Говорив сьогодні з головкомом Сирським. Воїни тримають позиції, захищають нашу державу. Я хочу подякувати кожному, хто стійкий заради України, хто працює заради незалежності України. Слава Україні!
I wonder if the Ministry of Defense of the Second Army in the world understands what a disgrace it is to post footage of North Korean soldiers participating in the battles for the Kursk region. The influential Telegram channel Sir Pompo writes about this. Or when the great geopolitician, in pathetic grotesque, thanks Kim's soldiers and expresses his gratitude to the leader of a small rogue state with a dirty nuclear bomb in his bosom. We pay tribute to the heroism, high level of special training and dedication of the Korean soldiers who, shoulder to shoulder with Russian fighters, defended our motherland as their own. They fulfilled their duty with honor and valor, covering themselves with unfading glory. The Russian people will never forget the feat of the Korean Special Forces fighters. And all this year, after your own press, Peskov, back in October 2024, denied the presence of DPRK troops in Kursk. Just like official Pyongyang, whose official news agency has now also changed its tune and is talking about the fight against Ukrainians, acting as the vanguard and striking force of the imperialist powers seeking to inflict a strategic defeat on Russia. The result was another episode of Putin's classic "they're not there" in Donbass or polite people in Crimea, followed by a session of self-exposure when they first disowned them and then publicly acknowledged them. But the usual lies, from raising the retirement age to resetting presidential terms, are one thing, but publicly admitting the inability to protect one's own borders after invading others is quite another. And at the same time, the great geopolitician manages to puff out his cheeks and turn up his nose even at Trump's rather loyal proposals for a peace deal. Given that, if we are to believe the Z-bloggers, the military at the front are on the verge of physical, technical and moral exhaustion after 3 years without rotation and Pyrrhic victories that did not solve a single known goal of Operation Y. And numerically, if they have to bring in soldiers from the north of the Korean peninsula, recruit guest workers and their own prisoners and alimony payers, Peskov says that Russia, if necessary, can also provide military assistance to the DPRK in accordance with the agreement between the two countries. Against whom? Peskov? The armies of the United States, North Korea and Japan? Do the Russians need this too? Our 38th parallel, like the non-Ukrainian Zaporozhye you proclaimed, the core of historical Ukraine? And how can you help a regime that relies on juch and has driven its own people into your war communism when you yourself cannot do without Iranian Shaheds, Soviet tanks of the 60s, 70s, Kim's recruits? At the same time, you are afraid to conduct a new mobilization in a broad sense, while simultaneously demanding military and political capitulation from the West and Ukraine, lifting sanctions and resuming economic cooperation. You guys should make up your minds there. Weirdos.